Living Show with Joan and Dr. Bader.
Today on Senior Living, we'll be interviewing Foster Holloway, who is a board-certified hearing instrument specialist. And welcome to our show, Foster.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Foster has been very helpful to me and still is, since I had to have hearing aids because I couldn't hear. I'd go to a party and I'd be reading lips. That was my clue. It was time. So I am thrilled that I am wearing the Beltone. What do we call my particular?
Yours are the trust model.
The trust.
They happen to be called a RIC, which means that the receiver goes in the ear. Receiver in canal, the official title.
Yeah, they're very comfortable. I was just amazed at what a difference they made.
Well, when you came in the last time, you made the statement that you never left home without them.
Right.
And that made me feel good
no,
because you're obviously enjoying them and wearing them and using them.
Yes, very much so. That's how I communicate with people, which is difficult if you can't hear.
Right.
So what are some of the common warning signs of hearing loss?
That's a good question. Whenever you start finding yourself asking people to repeat often,
What'd you say?
or if you have to run around in front of them to try to watch what they're saying, to
Reading
get the
their
full
lips.
picture, or if others are telling you that you got the TV too loud, just telltale signs like that. And many times we don't realize it ourselves because hearing loss comes on gradually.
Yeah.
Until one day it's like you have your fingers in your ears and you don't even realize. You're just going, what? And it's a lot of effort to hear also.
Very. It's the total concentration on what someone is saying. So what are the health concerns associated with hearing loss?
Well, the first and foremost is many people will start to withdraw a little bit. And if the sound isn't all getting to our brain, part of our brain is not actively engaged, and that allows it to atrophy, if you will. So a portion of the brain is slowly, sleeping on the job because it doesn't realize there's work to be done. And so over a long period of time, that can exacerbate the situation with dementia and some of the other cognitive functions.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that hearing is exercise for your brain.
Sure.
'Cause all those sounds are getting there and then the brain has to process it. But if you don't have hearing instruments and don't hear well, that portion of your brain
just kind of shuts down. So when should you get your hearing checked? If you feel like you're not hearing that clearly, or
if you're not hearing well, or if others tell you you're not hearing well, or if you're over 50 or 60 and just would like to get an idea of if you're hearing as well as your peers. I've had many people come in and go, well, something's going on. I was in a meeting and everyone else laughed at the joke and I didn't even hear the joke. So that becomes apparent that maybe check it out.
Yeah.
And it can be as simple as wax in the ears. So it's easy to get checked.
Yeah.
It's quick. Beltone provides free hearing exams, and then we suggest that if your hearing is okay, every couple years maybe check back, and because you have a baseline to compare now. And it's not going to get better. You hope it stays the same. In most cases, as we age, it gets a little worse.
Sure. Well, I am so happy that I came to your office that day. A friend of mine had received hearing aids from you, and she was just ecstatic. And I thought, really? Where did you go? How does it happen? I mean, and I just thought, I have to go. I mean, I obviously cannot hear everything, and so I came in to see that day.
Well, that's what makes my day, because I can have someone come into the office and not know if they're hearing good or bad, And we do the test, and then I can put on some demonstration hearing instruments and let them hear what it could be like. And the reactions I get at that point sometimes are just fantastic. You know,
Yeah.
little lady that grabs her chair and just, you know, just lights up like a Christmas tree, or say a little 85-year-old man that gets up and does a little happy dance. And what
yeah.
you realize is they're communicating with their spouse better than they have in 10 years. Or possibly they never communicate about anything important anymore because the communication isn't there. They don't, you know, and that can cause fights and stuff. And if you have to guess, if you're getting partial words or partial sentences, then you have to guess, and that can lead to embarrassment or mistakes.
I know my
or
husband,
arguments.
I used to blame my husband for mumbling. He wasn't mumbling. I just wasn't hearing those upper
The high frequencies.
high frequency T's and P's and S's and that type of thing. It was just a mumbled.
Well, as we move across
sound.
the spectrum of frequencies, the lower frequencies are the power to speech, and the higher frequencies are the clarity. And that's where those consonants, those little subtle differences between lake and late, you know, if you don't hear it, you have to guess. And if you have no context and haven't read the lips, it's a true guess.
Yeah.
You know?
So when people decide, okay, I want to go to see Foster, what do you do when they come for their visit?
Well, we set them up for an hour-and-a-half appointment. That gives me plenty of time to explain everything and try to educate as well as do the hearing exam and then interpret it. And if necessary, if there's a hearing loss, I make a recommendation on what might be most appropriate for their loss and their lifestyle. And then, assuming that they go ahead and proceed with the hearing instruments, over the first month, I meet with them 2 or 3 times to make fine adjustments. I want to get their feedback once they wear them out into the world, and I can tune them in to their preferences and some of the situations that might be unique for them. And then after that, we quarterly clean them up and listen to them, make sure they're good. We do an annual test, you know, to make sure that there's been no changes, or to adjust the hearing instrument to those changes. And for as long as you own the hearing instruments, Beltone's going to keep them tuned in as to what you need.
Is it just my style of hearing instruments that are Bluetooth compatible or capable, or are they all like that?
Actually, everything made today at this point is pretty much Bluetooth. And that's included in all of the styles except the smallest ones. The smallest ones that are near invisible, they simply don't have the capacity. Space limitations keep them from having Bluetooth.
Oh, I see.
They're just too small to accommodate.
Yeah. So Foster, what are the different styles of hearing instruments that you offer?
Great question. I happen to have in my hand a whole variety of various styles.
Oh my gosh.
Now the one that I have on looks like this. This is the computer and the casing, and there's microphones
That
and a
looks
control
just like mine.
switch. It is just like yours. And down on this end is the actual speaker, the little metal box. There's a speaker, and it slides right into the ear canal and disappears.
And you don't even know it's there after a day or two.
If someone, let's say, has dexterity issues or this or that, you can also get what's known as a full shell that basically fills up the entire inside of the ear. However, it's very simple, you know, and if you got glasses or air or something, it won't be knocked off. And it's also customized in that I take an impression of the person's actual ear canal.
Oh, wow.
And then send it to our factory in Chicago, and then they take a scan of it and then recreate this.
Oh, wow.
So this is actually made to my ear canal, my specific ear canal. It won't fit anyone else.
Because everyone's ear canal's different.
The simplest of it is you just put it in, but it takes, you know, fills the whole ear. Someone younger probably doesn't want this. They
Yeah.
want something more discreet. Someone that's older doesn't care. They want to hear.
Yeah, I went for the discreet model.
And then there's a one about half that big, again, that goes into the ear.
What do I hear?
I'm creating feedback by holding this in my hand.
Oh.
This is a unique one.
Mm-hmm.
This holds it in the ear.
Oh,
This is
okay.
to remove it by. This portion, the red portion, actually goes down the canal, and
Ooh,
all that's
wow.
seen is that much.
Oh.
But again, this is getting down to the size where we can't get the Bluetooth in.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
the Bluetooth's nice
That is
because you
such
can
a
answer
cool
your
feature.
phone. And no one else knows who you're talking to because you're just talking to thin
That's
air.
right. And you can adjust your volume control
You
on
can.
your phone
Let
or
me show
on
you
your
that real
iPad.
quick. There's an app, and it actually looks like this. And within these hearing aids, I can change some settings, and it's telling me that something's changing. Different setting. I can change my volume up and down. I can make it to where the volumes are controlled together
Mm-hmm.
or separately.
Can you see the screen there?
Over here, the star is favorites, which is kind of unique, and I got it labeled the couch. So you can go in on your iPad or in this app, whether it's Apple or Android, you can get the app, and you can create a custom setting. You go to some place that you frequent, and you play with the treble and the bass and this and that until you get it just perfect, and then you save it, and it'll ask you to name it. You name it, and within the hearing instruments in the processor, there's a GPS. And each time you go back within a few hundred feet of that position,
Mm-hmm.
I can have it where it will automatically click into those settings. Let's say you
That's
attend church every Sunday morning and you got it dialed in for your chair and everything. When you walk in the church building, it would go back to that. And there's up to 20 settings.
That's phenomenal.
So the technology is incredible.
Yeah.
Many times overkill, but there's also a lot of technical people that really like to play with electronics, and you're fine-tuning your hearing, which can have
Oh, yeah.
big benefits to
See,
your lifestyle.
I had no idea that all of that was available. I thought, a hearing aid? No, never, no.
Well, the
then
latest
when I
and
came
the
to see you-
greatest, I don't
What's
wanna
that?
forget this, is Beltone now has the capability of remote programming. So let's say that you're vacationing somewhere
Uh-huh.
and you're having some issue. You can go on your iPhone and put in a request, say I'm having an issue. It's going to show up in my office in Henderson on my computer.
Is that right?
And I'll open it up and you'll state whatever your issue is, and I'll go, oh, okay. And I can make adjustments on my computer and then send them via the internet
That's
back to your
crazy.
smartphone,
really.
and it's going to download it into your hearing aids, and you can be in Paris,
Ah,
or
okay, I'll go to Paris.
there you go. We got to try this out. Get a plane ticket.
Yeah, that's really
So the
amazing.
technological advances are just
Uh-huh.
very rapid. They're not the same hearing aids they were 10 years ago,
Oh.
much less, your grandfather's hearing
Mhm.
aids that were
Mhm.
that
I
big
remember
and
my
howled.
grandfather's hearing aid. It
Mhm.
used to make this ringing sound or some kind of really loud screeching sound.
Right.
And
That's
that's how I
feedback.
remember my grandfather.
Well, the technology has also given us many ways to combat that feedback to where that's not as problematic.
Mhm, mhm.
And something that's interesting, not necessarily humorous, is many times people don't hear the frequency of that.
Oh.
And so everybody in the room is going, who's in? And then their spouses, tapping them going, your hearing aid. And they can't hear that
They
frequency.
can't hear it. See, I wouldn't be able to hear it without my hearing aids in.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard it then.
Yeah.
Wow. So it must be really rewarding when people come in and they can't hear, and then all of a sudden,
It really is like nothing that
Like,
you
I
can
know how I
explain.
felt.
For
Yeah.
me, it just total elation. I get to share in that, and it changes folks' lives.
Oh, yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. I remember I couldn't hear crickets when I
Okay.
came in. I said, I can't hear crickets anymore. I really wanted to hear crickets.
I went hiking with my son on the California coast, and the cicadas were,
Yeah.
it was alive. It was so loud. And I laid down, and it went silent. And so I lifted my head, and they're there.
Uh-huh.
And so I start doing this, and I realized that I can't hear that frequency in this ear,
Just in the one ear.
in the one ear.
Wow.
Um,
So, but whatever their hearing deficit is,
Right, and that's the beauty of modern digital hearing aids, is once we do the test and figure out where your deficiencies might be, the hearing aid is similar to a graphic equalizer, is in that we can turn it up where you need it without overpowering you in other areas. Because many people hear quite well in the lower tones, which is
Yeah.
more men's voices
Yeah.
and stuff. But as it gets higher with women's voices and children's voices and those high frequencies, they don't hear so well.
really, that's
And that causes
amazing.
a lot of marital strife.
Sure,
So,
sure.
some days I'm a marriage counselor, sometimes I'm a hero.
So what's holding you all back? Those of you that aren't hearing that well. I mean, you should take a trip to Foster's office, Beltone, and they can help you
I'd
out.
love to invite you in. There's not an obligation to come learn about hearing or to get a screening test to figure out if it might be an issue for you. Or so that's our job, is to help you hear better, and that should enhance the quality of your life and your relationships and your communication. We're located here in Green Valley. We're on the corner of Wigwam and Green Valley Parkway. The address is 1701 North Green Valley Parkway, Building 2, Unit D. We're right behind Walgreens, right by the Legacy Golf Course.
Easy to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phone number 702-270-3272. Call in, talk to Laura, and we'll schedule a time when we can educate you.
I'm so glad I came in to visit you that day. Thank you so much, Foster.
Thank you.
We enjoyed hearing all about your
Well, I've enjoyed working with
hearing
you.
aids.
It's exciting to find people that want to hear better and aren't caught up in denial and other issues.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Well, we'll see you next time.
Check us out on Facebook and YouTube.